Reading the weather isn't hard, or at least doesn't have to be. Lots of glider pilots think that forecasting takes a lifetime of experience, but I'm going to tell you why that's wrong and what you can do to get better quickly.
The tools. Ask your local pilots what weather tools you have in your area. You need at least some soaring product that gives thermal heights and such, and also a macro scale generic product. For me, these are windy.com, SkySight, and the NorCal RASP. Windy gives the global flow, SkySight gives a low resolution soaring forecast, and the NorCal RASP gives a high resolution local soaring forecast. Check the weather every day. When I joined my glider club, I found that every time I noticed a good forecast, so did everyone else, and the gliders got booked. Bummer. The obvious solution was just to check the weather before everybody else. The early runs of our 5-day RASP finished around 8 a.m., so I put a reminder on my phone to check the weather every morning at 8 o'clock. I only knew how to see if there were going to be clouds and how high the boundary layer was going to be, but this was enough to solve the glider reservation problem. However, it also had the side effect of teaching me what else to pay attention to. Checking the weather in the morning is simple and takes just a few minutes, yet few pilots do it. If you want to soar more, take your tea or coffee with the weather. Get the big picture. The most common mistake I see other pilots making is focusing only on the small scale local forecast. This is usually enough to decide whether to fly or not, but it does not give you any understanding of why good weather is happening, nor does it tell you how reliable the forecast is. This requires zooming out, literally, and seeing the big picture. For this, I use windy.com. It shows the output of various weather models on a global scale, and some of them extend 10 days into the future, allowing you to inspect the macro scale flows in both space and time. Today, I'm wondering why the forecast for coastal California looks so good in the middle of February. You can see there's a high pressure system parked in the Pacific to the north of Hawaii for the next 10 days. The flow is always from west to east here, and this high is forcing the flow to go up into Alaska and down the west coast. So generally, I expect cool weather and for all the low pressure systems to ride down the coast over the next 10 days. The freezing altitude tells the picture. On Tuesday, the flow lines up to send a particularly large blast of cold air into California. These are usually good in the days leading to spring because the ground will be comparably warm to the air above it. So, although there's not much solar energy, we can still get good thermals and clouds. Now, how reliable is this forecast? Well, the high pressure system seems pretty stable for a long time, so the overall flow up and over the Pacific is nearly certain. For Tuesday in particular, we can toggle between the GFS and ECMFW weather models and see that they agree pretty well on the placement of the highs and lows and the flow of the cold pool into California. This gives me a good deal of confidence that Tuesday will be a good day, and I should start clearing out my calendar and getting everything ready. Also, I bet you notice already that there are going to be a stream of frontal systems in California in the next 10 days, and that we should expect some rain and also look out for prefrontal wave and postfrontal soaring conditions in the next few weeks. How to practice. Practice is always the answer to getting better, but I get the feeling most pilots don't have any strategy for practicing amateur meteorology. We already discussed looking at the weather each morning, but there is something that worked much better for me, and that is to change the order that I read the data. It's natural to look at the soaring products first, but I'll propose a game to you. First, look at the macro scale forecast. It's winter, so first I consider wave by looking at the wind at 10,000 feet. Next, I'll consider soaring conditions by looking at the cloud, rain, and freezing level layers. The game is to figure out which days the soaring products will show good conditions. When I have decided which days might be good, only then do I look at SkySight, RASP, and those local short-term models.
It doesn't even matter if the forecast is right or not. It only matters that your brain is making the connection between the macro scale flows and the local soaring forecast. This is by far the best exercise I've invented for myself. So anyway, get out there, get forecasting, get soaring. See ya.